Hey guys, this is Black Woman 7 here, and today we'll be going over our PFA Week 3 battle up against Epic Bulls. So let's get started. So going into this game, my opponent has a very scary, bulky offensive team in the form of Prozma, Shaman, Azu, Lolanma, Kyurem B, Hip on top. There are other threats that I had to prepare for, such as I think the Mega Pidgeot, the Jolteon, both of which were like really fast threats that um that can give me some problems. But of course, I figured that he was gonna bring like the Kyurem, Shaman, and the Charisma. Like those three were pretty like mandatory, and then like the other two were kind of like bulky support or slash offensive lines to fill out his roster. And like seeing Azu and Alolan Muck kind of fit the bill here. So yeah. For what we brought Mega Lopunny, which is pretty standard. We do have Encore instead of one of our priority options. We do have instead of like Fake Out, um, we do have like Fake Out and Encore, as well as Return and like HJK. So we also have Zapdos, which is pretty standard as well. I think it would also Heat Wave, Discharge. I think it has Pressure this week, so yeah. We also have Kyurem, which is a Modest Nature this week, so it's for once I could just run Modest like sub with Earth Power, Ice Beam, and that's it. So Groundian Z, Earth Power just ensures that Oko goes onto like Alolan Muck, which was something that I was kind of concerned with. Then I brought Choice Banded Metagross, sort of being like another um, like offensive mon in of its own right, pretty much disabling one of his own like walls if I'm able to like trick it the right option. So, and also lastly, set up hazards for Clean, so with rocks. So let's get right into the game. So I did off with Lopunny, and he goes to Necrozma. I'm just gonna go for Fake Out just to try to get some chip. See what set this is with our Rocky Helmet. So the leftover. So I see no leftovers, and I'm like, already, I'm just gonna be like, I'm fine with this. He goes for Moonlight, which is actually pretty helpful in my situation because Necrozma doesn't really have the best form of recovery in my opinion. Like, it has access to Moonlight and Morning Sun, both of which are for APP, and you have to run one of them instead of like, rest. I've always learned to like rest talk, so so yeah. Regarding this Mew is starting with a Stallbreaker set with Whist, Super Fang, and Roost. So, as well as Taunt. So here I decided to just go for a Super Fang, just get some chip onto this Shaman here, do massive damage, and unless he's like Sanitas, I can pretty much wear it down. So he goes for Leech Seed, and it's pretty nice since with pressure, I'm able to like sort of I can semi pressure stall this thing, but if I want to. Now here, already I'm in like I make a very fatal mistake. Instead of going into maybe like Nidoqueen or like Metagross, I go into Mew as he goes for Toxic, and not gonna lie, this Toxic is gonna have a major influence throughout this game because essentially this gives this pretty much puts Mew on a timer. Of course he's gonna get synchronized with me with Shaman, but honestly this was pretty much a bad play on my end because I have a Kyurem, a Metagross, and a Nidoqueen right there, and they could have all like taken the Toxic. Like Kyurem, yes, is offensive, so it doesn't really give a shit, and that Metagross and Nidoqueen would have been like very perfect switch-ins. And I could have also scouted for like maybe other options like Sanitas or maybe a switch out. So, but I think going to Mew, like thinking about it, I thought he probably would have swept out. But and the fact that I get Toxic with Mew was just pretty unfortunate. So that's one I have to. That's definitely something I have to keep in mind. So, he is leftover, so we have to keep that also that in mind. So. Got a Nidoqueen and it's just gonna keep leech seeding me. And of course Toxic's gonna rank up, so here he's gonna switch it back into Necrozma as I'm just gonna go from the rocks. And there's not really much I want to do staying in with this thing. So I go into Metagross as he actually reveals Earth Power. That's a good prediction on his end. To be honest, I should have just like went into Kyurem or Zapdos here. Because like I could have easily taken this as well as like, but then again I didn't want to be hit by a Psychic type attack, so he makes a good prediction right then and there. So yeah, he goes to Shaman here as I go for Trick, as I'm able to give him a Choice Band and I get my leftovers. Now this is pretty much another dumb play of me. I thought he was pretty much a defensive Shaman, sort of like, you know, Leech Seed Toxic, some filler option, and Giga Drain. Because the last move has to be like some Giga Drain Sinitas or something like that if he's defensive. And I thought he was gonna like stay in, or not stay in, but he was gonna like switch out to like maybe Necrozma. But he actually has the double Earth Power, which makes sense. But I pretty much lose Kyurem and another priority option against Kyurem B, so yeah, that's already like two mistakes I've already made this game. So here he goes to Azu, as I'm just gonna go for the Ice Beam, and this puts it in range of a possible Z Earthquake, not Earthquake, Z Earth Power. So especially the fact that I'm modest. This might depend on the investment, but looking at the damage, I was like, okay, that's not AV, so at the very least I could go for the attack now. So here I'm just gonna pop my Z move, and I'm just gonna go for the option. I do get a crit. Now the crit actually kinda, I guess you could say matters, but then again, it ensures the OHKO, but it was actually like, I think around an 81% chance or 75% chance to OHKO this Azu, so it was still in my favor. I did ask Epic after the game, so what was the role on that? So because like there was some hacks in this game, as you'll see. So he goes into Hitmontop, as here I decide, you know what, I'm just going for the Ice Beam because I judge that he's gonna go try to get rid of these hazards for Kyurem. So here honestly should have just went for like the here I should have just went for sub, because this pretty much was no drawback play for two reasons. This is just a minor nitpick, because this pretty much ensures that I would have seen what Kyurem was gonna do instead of just going for Ice Beam. I do get some major chip damage on this thing, but I'm not Quick Attack Fake Out Lopunny, as if I was able to ensure Rocks damage on this thing, I probably would have been able to like just win the game with just that. But of course Necrozma is a huge threat now, and I have to like figure out how to like be able to like win via like, you know, pressure stalling, like, or like, you know, stall breaking, you know. But yeah, Kyurem is in the field, and at this point I really don't know what to do, because this thing I still don't know whether this thing is let's say Life Orb, or this thing is, you know, non-choiced in any way. So the best thing I do is actually stay in, because looking at my team, I thought, hey, he has like I don't have any ice resistances, so there's nothing I could do. But then again, I don't have any dragon to switch in, so yeah. At this point, I just lose Kyurem, or my Kyurem, for this battle, so I already lose a major hitter for my squad, so yeah. And at this point, this is gonna become a very grind fest, if you ask me, so yeah. So here we go to Lopunny, and at this point, I can't tell whether this, since I am modest, I can't tell whether this thing is, you know, let's say, well, I can tell this is like especially offensive, but like, I'm not so sure whether this is like, you know, just like, you know, timid with like extra belt or something like that, or if it's scarfed. So here I just go for return. So I do major chip damage in this thing. That's pretty much ensures a 2-hit shot. So yeah, the crit doesn't matter there. So yeah, goes into Hitmontop, and I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna stay in here for long. As he pulls a good double, goes for the Necrozma. So here I go to the Mew, as I try to like wear him down in a sense. So Here, he goes to Alolan Muck, as I unfortunately missed the Will-O-Wisp, and that could have bite me in the ass because fact of the matter is, having that Muck burnt would have been a lot better because I would have been able to switch it around between Zapdos, Nidoqueen, and Mew. So that's pretty unfortunate for me. But then again, it would have been very hard and difficult to like pretty much play around the Kyurem B and whatnot. So yeah. So this is where I mean like having Metagrow as a priority would have been helpful because like especially having it towards the end game since at the very least I would have a way to like revenge kill the Kyurem B always. So, but unfortunately now we're in a situation where not only does Alolan Muck miss or was able to avoid this burn, but now we have to like kind of play around the rest of his bulk because Necrozma and Muck Hitmontop can just can wear me down by themselves, and then he can just have Kyurem just clean up if that thing is indeed like let's say like a Scarf or like even offensive variant is like just as fine. So yeah. So at this point I'm just gonna like go for my I tried going for a Will-O-Wisp here, but honestly that's kind of like a bad play because I should have just went for a Super Fang. But then again, he doesn't mind getting his like thing burned, so yeah. I go to Zapdos as he just starts Calm Minding, and I'm like, yeah, this is already looking like game. As he just has Calm Mind, he's just gonna be able to waltz around me. So my best option at this point is to try to like sort of semi-stall the Moonlights out, as well as possible full-time geysers and psychics with Zapdos and Mew, so that Lopunny could just go in. So hence why I'm just going for Moonlights here. So, but at the same time, I'm gonna be open to like possible Kyurem Ice Beams. So at this point, I'm just gonna try to like wear down this Necrozma. So, but again, like that means like not going for a turn of recovery as well. So that's, as you'll see, this is gonna like matter long term. So yeah. So at this point, he goes to Dreidolin. So here I just go for like a discharge as he actually is somewhat specially defensive, and again, it really comes down to like having this Alolan Muck paralyze this Muck. However, I would have preferred this thing would have been burned because paralysis can work in my favor in a way, but it has to be in the right situation where he gets paralyzed. But burn would have been much more consistent since I would have been able to switch it with Mew, Nidoqueen, and Zapdos. But I think at this point, he has more than enough bulk and options to pretty much wear them out of my team for a Kyurem sweep. So yeah. So at this point, I go to Nidoqueen, try to take a hit, not lose my knot from any like not on my leftovers from knockoff, but he goes for Crunch. And here, I honestly should have just gone for Earth Power and just said fuck it, because I would have just put Kyurem in range of like possibly a fake out, but unfortunately, he just switches in at the right time, so that's a good play on Epic's part. So I just go for Rocks. I didn't expect him to switch out, but of course, he goes for Ice Beam because I have no other switch-ins through that thing. So yeah, and he goes to Blick, and at this point I just go for Return, and he is in fact Figgy Berry. So, and here at this point I'd have to like kind of bank off him being paralyzed or missing the Gunk Shot, but of course he hits, but it was still in his favor. So yeah, and now like having like if I was able to keep Lopunny healthy, then maybe I would have a chance, because I'd probably take a hit from like say a Draco or an Ice Beam, and then it would just it would just come down to Mew, Zapdos versus like Necrozma. So, or maybe just like fake out plays in a sense. So I've already worn down Necrozma's like Moonlight, so yeah, that helps me in my favor. So yeah, here I honestly like I said, like I could have won the game right here and there if I wasn't toxic, because I just ensure that like most of his team can't pretty much beat this Mew. But unfortunately, I shall see like he's able to clutch this game out. So I do make some very weird plays here and there, like try to get an encore onto this Necrozma, as you'll see. I go to Zapdos, like trying to like probably PP stall him of any like Earth Powers or Photon Geysers. I do get a crit discharge, which is pretty funny. Which at this point I just tried to go for like an encore onto Lopunny, expecting him to go for Moonlight, and honestly, I just get it, and pretty much ensures that. Alright, we're back. So having that encore pretty much ensures that like I get a free turn to hit this him on top. So I still have to predict whether or not like he has Mach Punch or not. So yeah, but it's not gonna matter since I try to go for here at this point. I try to assume that he is not scarfed. I just go bank on the fact that he, or not the fact, but the idea that he may or may not be scarfed. Because I could just go for like my HJK and just go for the kill onto Kyurem, or like he just goes to Necrozma. But then it's sort of like still a switching game, so yeah. And if I do manage to kill Necrozma, I probably can win with fake out like options, but then again, like, you know, it comes down to like, you know, whether this thing is scarfed. So I go for HJK, but of course he is faster than me, so that's gonna be game, since at this point I pretty much lose. So so this Kyurem is just gonna be able to ransack the rest of my team, and yeah. Honestly, thinking back at this game, I probably shouldn't have brought Nidokings, because like thinking about it, like, I mean, just look at the 4-5 Pokemon right there. Like, there's a Necrozma and the Kyurem. Both of them just take advantage of it, so... And, yeah. And the fact that Kyurem just pretty much can just outmaneuver my own team as well is pretty, big as well, so... Honestly, thinking about what I could have done better, like I said, going for, a different switch in, like, you know, Metagross or Nidokings would have been huge, because instead of like going hard Mew against the Shaman, because I would have scouted out the possible Toxic, and Kyurem also works because I could at least like Kyurem is just there just to wall break, so he could just take the Toxic as well. He could also Roost. So and having Mew around that's not Toxic would have ensured that like Necrozma, Kyurem B would have been low enough to where like any of my mons could just wear him down and just pretty much win the game. So yeah, I guess like bringing Nidokings was kind of questionable. Probably could have brought like Aromatisse or like Jellicent or maybe even Incineroar. Like, well, then again, I think I FA'd Incineroar at this time, so I wasn't able to use it. So then Kyurem B, yeah, was just pretty much huge threat to my team. I didn't really account for it that much, and of course, like Ice Beam just pretty much goes for my team like a hot knife against like butter. So yeah, I don't know what the phrase is for that. So yeah, I probably could have like won if I had probably played around the Shaman, like I said, the Shaman earlier, and probably kept Metagross, because that would have ensured that Kyurem was low enough. But then it just comes down to a bunch of 50-50s, and y'all know how I am. I always do with 50-50s, so yeah. But then again, Necrozma would have been out of the picture though, at the very least. So maybe I would have just been able to whip to like just I guess you could say like I would have been able to like beat Necrozma, but then again, like it comes down to how many like Calm Minds he gets and whether I get a crit on one of them. So with Zapdos, so so yeah, GG's to Epic as we go 2-1. So in our first loss this season. So I mean, this is sort of a teaching moment if you ask me, because I think this comes after my my other loss, this other game, but well, you guys know which one that is. So thinking about it now, I think it just comes down to like, you know, scouting, you know, properly scouting out moves and scouting out like plays and whatnot. So I probably could have figured out a way to win that game, but then like with the resources I had, But it would just require me just making a bunch of predictions and like uh that like pretty much like I'd say like were improbable at the very at best because he still has Necrozma healthy and he still has a Kyurem. So I know it'll probably come down to like, you know, getting rid of toxic against meal somehow, so or keeping Metagross alive, so yeah. So or even Kyurem. Like, getting Kyurem alone would have just like been able to break his team and just yeah. But anyways, that's how like games work. So sometimes you're just gonna be able to win some games, and other times you're just gonna lose some games like that. So, but anyways, that's a good game to Epic because he outplayed me definitely. So, so anyways, I'm gonna be heading out of here with this video. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys next time. So, yeah.